Up next is an absolutely remarkable accounting expert and leader both in business and the community. She leads the practice in Arizona for one of the world's top 3 accounting firms, KPMG. And she and her firm have been friends and supporters of the Integrity Summit for 3 years running, and we hope they will always be. Please welcome a great part of Arizona and a person of utmost integrity, Lisa Daniels.
Well, hey, that skit was pretty impressive. So coming from a public accounting firm, for me to talk about integrity as a competitive advantage is pretty easy, right? It is our business. Our business is to provide our opinion on financial statements. It's to protect the capital markets. And so I could probably spend a lot of time talking about why it's not only a competitive advantage, but it's our product. But I would say for most organizations, it's your product too. And even if we just look in the news lately, look at these headlines. They're pretty surprising. There's some big companies up there with some big fines. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you think about it from a monetary perspective, they've gone through investigations, there's legal fees, but really probably the biggest damage to these organizations is reputational risk, right? And we can't even begin to start to measure that. And it's a pretty sad state that this is what we're seeing almost daily in our papers these days. KPMG does an integrity survey. We've been doing this survey since the year 2000. You actually have a copy of the most recent survey in your green bags. It's as of 2013. And this survey is of 3,500 employees. So they're not KPMG employees. You can see it goes through all the different industries, but they're businesses around the United States. So they're just employees from all sorts of different US businesses, different industries, different sizes. And it's really interesting to say, when we look at some of the key findings, and I'll flip this here, maybe I'll flip it. There we go. When we look at some of the key findings, there's a staggering statistic here. 3 out of 4 have observed misconduct in their workplace. 3 out of 4, that's 75% have observed misconduct. And what is misconduct? It could be a lot of things. We don't necessarily have the specifics. It could be somebody taking supplies home from the office. It could be somebody actually, cheating on their expense report. But it also can be somebody breaking the law, insider trading or fraud. But 3 out of 4, 75%. When I saw this, the thing that probably disturbed me more was that half of those people did not feel comfortable raising their hand about that misconduct. They didn't think their company would do the right thing when they raised their hand. They were fearful of retaliation, not that different than what we just saw in that skit. To me, when I see these kind of statistics, it's a culture issue. We drive the culture in our organizations, each individual, and this just supports that. So what's the driver? What are some of the drivers? We ask ourselves, why would people do this? Is it just for financial gain? So here are a few of the drivers. Personal gain, fear of losing a job, pressure to meet business targets or get results, something we just saw, and lack of knowledge or not knowing any of the rules. What do you guys think is the number 1 reason? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that? 3, number 3. That's right. Pressure to meet personal or business targets and get results was the number 1 reason. And how many of those 3,500 people do you think actually put this as their number 1? 25%? 30%? 64%. So think about that. Of those people, 64% have said, look, the biggest driver is pressure from the people that I work with to meet these statistics. It's a tough one. So what can be done about it? We can talk about what the issue is, but what can be done? The study, this to me is just staggering. Organizations that have ethics and compliance programs change culture. And this study absolutely says this. So look at this one here. This is without an ethics and compliance program and with a program. People feel motivated and empowered to do the right thing. Those people that actually have a program, 82% said they feel empowered. Those where the organization does not have a program, 39%. I mean, that's an amazing difference. And this is that same 3,500 people. People feel comfortable raising and addressing ethics concerns. 79% this year for those with a program, 33% for those without. Ethics and compliance programs make a difference. Sometimes we feel like it's just a check the box, but we have to live it. We have to live what's going on there. So then this talks about more about the culture and the environment. So you can see same kinds of things. People feel motivated to do the right thing if you have that culture. But we heard earlier about Mr. Christensen saying you have to execute. We have to execute at our level as managers, as supervisors, as leaders, as peers, as parents. We absolutely have to execute. And here you can see here, this slide's about teams and doing the right thing. There we go. I'm catching up for you real quick. I have a slow clicker. So let me talk to you a little bit about something I did personally. So as I was getting ready to come here today and we looked through the survey, I said, you know what, I think I'm a pretty ethical person. I think I'm a leader who doesn't lie. I talk about ethics and integrity. And if somebody was asking me, do I put undue pressure on people to meet business targets, I would say no. But what I decided to do is to take a challenge. So for the last 30 days, what I did is I said, I'm going to monitor myself in 3 areas. The first area is how often I lie. Now, I would have told you my answer should be 0. I tell everybody I never lie. I have a 16 and 18-year-old kid. I tell them I never lie. The group that I work with probably would say that. But I expected 0. I'm going to share my answers with you here in a minute, but I will tell you it was not 0 when I tracked it. The second thing I did is I said, okay, for all the meetings that I have, both meetings with individuals, meetings in group, this is really a time that I should be able to influence people to do the right thing. In those meetings, how often did I talk about integrity or even talk about doing the right thing? So that was the second thing I did. And then the third was I said, okay, in all the meetings, I'm just going to say all the meetings that I have with anybody in 30 days, how many did we talk about business results? How many did we talk about financial targets, meeting business results? And then of those, in that meeting, did I talk about integrity or doing the right thing at the same time? These guys are laughing over here. So first of all, I realized I have way too many meetings in doing this. So I will share with you. I told an untruth or lied 4 times during the month. I did measure this both at work, at home. They weren't huge issues, but let me give you an example. So 2 of the 4 were on the weekend when the phone rang, and my 16-year-old daughter picked it up, and she said, "Hi, Grandma," and I looked at her and said, "Tell her I'm not home," which I've done a million times, and then I had to step back and think, what did I just do? I just taught my 16-year-old daughter to lie. What should I have done? I should have grabbed the phone and said, "Mom, I just don't have time to talk to you right now. I'll call you back in 2 hours," and hung up the phone. So while I laugh about it, at the same time, I just really, in developing a young person, taught them to lie. Here's somebody that I completely pride myself on not lying. So you guys are hearing all my bad parts here today, just so you know. The second area was the meetings, where I referred to integrity or doing the right thing. So in 30 days, I actually had 11 meetings, which I thought sounded pretty good. 11 meetings that I talked about doing the right thing. But I meet a lot, and so that was a pretty small number. That was only 18% of the meetings. So basically, less than 20% of the time, when I have an opportunity to talk about doing the right thing to my team, am I doing it? So I definitely have the ability to improve there. But I'll tell you the third was the one that was by far the most eye-opening to me. and that was on pressure around business results. So I had meetings around business results over the last 30 days, 21 times. And that's, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, that's a huge number. Part of it's the role I have, part of it's our fiscal year end coming up, and so it's a combination of individual meetings and group meetings, but that's the nature of the beast. So 21 meetings around business results. I am really sad to say in only 6 of those meetings did we also talk about doing the right thing and integrity. And so while I'm confident I didn't tell anybody in a business meeting to do something that was unethical or wrong, I also didn't match the two together. We didn't talk about meeting business results and doing it the right way. And so, how that would be interpreted could be very, very different. So my challenge to you is to try this. It's really not that hard. By the time you have your Outlook calendars, it's very easy to go back and look at your meetings, what the nature of your meetings were. The hardest one to track is the non-truth, the lying, because you really have to be very self-aware of what you're doing. That's by far the hardest. I would say do this, challenge your teams to do this, challenge your peers to do this. It's very eye-opening on what you can do and how you can make a difference. And so in closing, I would just say this, what you've heard it all day today, it starts with us. It's all about us. Clearly, an ethics and compliance program makes a difference, but our behavior, people are watching us every day of every minute, is what really will change the culture. So thank you.